Welcome to the Software People Stories. I'm Shiv.
I'm Chitra.
And I'm Gayatri.
We bring you interesting, untold stories of people
Associated with the creation
or consumption of software-based solutions.
You'll hear stories of what worked,
and sometimes what didn't,
you will also hear very personal experiences.
and insights that would trigger your thoughts
and inspire you to do even greater things.
Before we jump into today's conversation, a special thanks to PM Power Consulting for encouraging and supporting this show right from the start. With over 1,000 person years of collective experience, PM Power has helped many organizations, teams, and individuals chart out their own journeys of excellence and make progress. Thank you, PM Power. Now, let's move to today's episode. My guest today is Stamatis Astra. He is the co-founder and chief business officer of Intelligent Relations. In this revealing conversation, he talks about his origin story of starting in theater before transitioning into technology and entrepreneurship. Other topics he touches on are about the entrepreneurial mindsets and how to build products. I asked him about the difference in theater and business, that is, whether it is playing to a script or improv. He also talks about remote work and leadership challenges associated with that, and also describes the intersection of media, AI, and entrepreneurship. Then we get into a little more in terms of AI's role in public relations. He shares some tips of career opportunities in public relations. And finally, I asked him about his personal philosophy and how he stays grounded. These and a lot more in this very, very useful conversation. Listen on. Hi, Stamatis. Welcome to the Software People Stories.
Hello. Thank you very much. I'm very honored and happy to be here and talking to you. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, I was very curious. More curious. I'm usually curious whenever I'm talking to any guest, but then this time it was even more curious when I looked at your background and the kind of things that you're doing. So before we get into that, we'll start with your origin story and how you got to be associated with technology and the kind of things that you've been doing, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. I have an interesting background of many careers, which it's not the best way to manage your career, but you have to do what what drives you and what follows you. I always was a people person. My first career was being in the arts, as an actor and in movies and things like that. Very young, but that was and continues until today to be one of the pillars of my personality, to be on stage, so to speak, either that's on the company or promoting the company or talking to our employees and our team members. After that, I studied, and very early on, I'm old enough to remember the beginning of the internet. That's when I got out of school, and it was a small company called Amazon.com. And I still remember when we used to go to class and people said, did you buy anything online? Nobody raised their hands. I still remember when the email was a novel idea, and I was able to create using easy email account domains, and how email was a glorified fax machine, and people didn't understand how that will change the world. And I'm saying all this because 30 years later, we are at the cusp of a completely new technological revolution with AI, which is a combination of technology right now. But that was my path, and ever since I graduated from college, Again, I would say I am a product person. I was never an engineer. I have not studied engineering. I've studied theater and economics and marketing and communications. So I am a product person trying to understand what is the need of the user and work with the engineers, the user experience engineers, and obviously the pricing and the finance people, and try to create products, software products that we will will automate and change and help the user.
Wonderful. I think a lot of people, I mean, everybody knows that Steve Jobs was not an engineer. And even on the show, we've had people, who've been playing roles of business analysts, of product managers, and people who actually use the software. So I think I find a lot of things that I can kind of relate to, but not really understand exactly how. So I'll probably try to explore that. So from being, let's say, a person who's coming from the theater uh, to being something, like looking at or being an entrepreneur, how is that shift for you?
An entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter if you try to make a movie
Mhm,
or you try to make a software, an application for a phone, or a B2B or a B2C software. You got to raise the money.
mhm,
You have to create the elevator pitch. You have to tell prospective people why what you are doing is the value and why they should invest. And investing is not just money. Investing
mm,
is also hiring people and convincing people that your vision is worthwhile, is going to change something. And again, I've done it both for the entertainment world and the software world, but the core is always the same. You have to you have to really believe. You have to see the market and say this is, you got to look beyond a little bit of the horizon, say this is where the market is going, this is what the product is going to do, and you have to give it you have to believe it. Confidence is probably very important. A lot of people believe and say, I think Shakespeare was the quote, that self-doubt is the worst part that you can have. So you need to have the confidence, and also, to be honest, and if you don't say that we're not honest, you need to have the luck as
mm,
well. Timing, call it serendipity, call it luck, whatever you want to call it. It's also very, very important. Yes, luck favors the people who are trying. If you don't try, it's difficult to have luck.
mhm.
But also, again, timing, serendipity, luck is also plays a role. From you go to a meeting, a networking meeting, and you can meet your co-founder or a great business partner simply because they found the right babysitter and they're there. Or you can miss a meeting because the kid got sick. You never know. It's one of those little things in life that, again, looking back, make a difference.
Yeah, so very interesting. So when on stage, the kind of roles that you play, are they more scripted or improv?
Well, that's the benefit of being an actor, and that's the only thing I miss is they give you a script, and you
Uh-huh.
cannot deviate from the script.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you don't have to think about it. So you go and you read the script and you try to understand the emotions, but you don't have to worry what the answer is going to be. You don't have to worry what the question is going to be. Versus in business and in software, You look at the data, you look at the dashboard data, and you say, this is what the users are doing, this is where they're dropping off, this is their churning, and you try to figure out the answers, how to change the churn rate, or how to have them more engaged in the features, or try to understand what are your ICP, your ideal customer profile, what is their pain points, and how the features you present to them match those pain points, and do they. So you have all this data and all these questions, but you don't have a script. You got to figure it out. So yeah, sometimes I wish someone would give me the script, and I'll have a nasty director telling me, "Do not deviate, just tell your lines."
Uh, yeah. So extending that, when you build the team, how much of a script do you expect the team to follow versus improvise, innovate, and keep moving ahead?
Well, depending on the roles, if it's a sales team or a business development team, yeah, they got to stick to the script. Again, you have a script. You want the sales people, or people who making the, or if you, it would be a presentation of the company to the investors or all that. You want to stick to the script. If you do that, you're confident. You know what you're going to say. You say your points, again, assuming you have done your homework on the script, okay?
Mm.
Assuming the script is good and you have utilized data in order to keep revising the script. But you need to have a script to say your points, to say your value proposition, to say your, and you need to have an ask at the end of the script. So if it's sales, you need to say, I want, the order, or I want to set up a demo or a proposal, or if you ask for money, I want so much money for this. So you need to have a script, and you need to have a very clear outcome of what you want at the end of the meeting. So those types of sales meetings, yes, you want a very good script, obviously with revisions as you learn. Now, when you're talking about product and engineering and having user interface meetings and things like that, that's where you don't want a script. You want you want to have a very clear goal. So if you say, look, we have a problem, um, depending on what software you're building, but let's say we have a problem, and people are, there's no engagement, they're not using the software the way we were intended. And then you got to let it open, and people have to be able to feel comfortable and be creative. And now we're not anymore in conference rooms. When we used to be in conference rooms, people, you have to let people stand up and walk around and debate as much as possible. Now in Zoom calls and technology calls, it's a little bit different. You got to be engaged, and it's not easy, but. You need to have a very clear on these meetings, a very clear goal, what is the outcome, and that you don't need a script for that, but you need to, at the end of the meeting is, okay. I mean, Musk says, now Musk is everywhere. So Musk says, what do you get done this week? It should be, it should be the same. We should be accountable. I mean, you like or you don't like Musk, it's a different point of view, but we got to be accountable on what we're doing.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned people are no longer in rooms and then more technologically connected. You also mentioned that you're a people person. So do you find any challenges in working with completely dispersed or distributed teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult when you're not in front of someone. What we say, the face-to-face interact, especially with people that you work on a daily basis, your team members, everybody. If you're not in flesh, yes, there is a clear disadvantage. And you got to, I think, over the last 2-3 years that we use Zoom calls and cameras in meetings, I think we have become more agile. At least I can pick up when someone is sending an email or reading the news on the other screen. We can understand that, and I think again, engagement, listening, um, uh, and it's very difficult. If you got a meeting on 15, 20 people, nobody's on camera anymore. People just put the mute button. You speak, you don't see the reactions as you talk. It doesn't matter if it's a presentation or if you are the boss and you're telling them to do stuff. If you don't see the reaction, it's very difficult. So the communication has to be different. You cannot just go on a run for 10, 15 minutes. You don't know when people are rolling their eyes or they have some sort of disapproval with their physical body reaction. So you're not there. So that communication has to be different. You got to finish every point you have with a question. Otherwise, you will lose them.
Going slightly away from the main point is when I looked at your profile, I see that you're a venture partner as well as a radio host.
Yes.
How,
Be on stage.
yeah, how different are these? Of course, you talked about using data, probably being a venture partner, and that helps. But then being a radio host,
Yeah, I guess the radio host is part of my personality that wants to be on stage. Easier to be on the radio than to be on TV or a stage or theater. So we have a great relationship with a local radio station here in Boston, and being able to contribute on the global news and opinions and interviews and things and things like that. And again, it's the skill of interviewing people and asking the questions. So the same thing, you want to invest money in a company, you got to ask the questions. You got to dig in a little bit deeper and ask this different type of questions so you can try to understand the person that you want to invest with. Because if you want to invest, it's a long term. You do it for the long term. You're not just doing it by 100 shares of IBM. You're doing it for the person, for the journey. You expect, you hope is going to be a long term. So all these questions are very, very important to understand the business, but also understand the drive, understand the personality, and the motivation of the entrepreneur.
so what qualities do you look for when you are considering an investment? Is it
For the
more on the
person, it has,
people? Yeah.
yeah, it has to be resilience, and because it's failure is much more common than success. So resilience, what we say, tough skin, understanding that making a mistake and changing the mistake. So someone who can change also is very important. So those are the characteristics and things that are important on a personality point of view. And as far as the business, it's all the regular business, playbook, all the way from how big the market is to what problem the product is solving, etc., etc.
Yeah, because I've heard some of the investors uh, giving more importance for the team or the founding team. So do you
Look, I mean, depends. It depends the stage. It depends. Yeah, it's a very great point and a great question. It depends on the stage of the investment. If it's a very small, early on seed
Okay.
investment or round A investment. Yes, that's the team that's going to build everybody else. It's like 2, 3 people, and they're going to hire 10, 20 people. So it's very important. And again, it's not just the experience is important. Have they done it before? But that's not so much it. It's also the personality and the chemistry among them. And are other people going to follow them on a burning bridge? So, but if you're talking on a much bigger company that has already revenue and has all that, then the team characteristics are much different. Here, it's not just the CEO or the top. You really want to go also on the people who are going to roll their sleeves and hire the other people. So it depends on the stage.
Uh, I was also curious because your company is called Intelligent Relations.
Yes.
You
Yes,
are, yeah.
yes. We started this company, one of the companies, right? And again, we looked at the domain of public relations, and it was like 3, 4 years ago when we started this, and it was the beginning of the AI. It wasn't the chat GPT wasn't available yet, but it was the generative AI was available. So that's the stuff that we were working with. And we said, look, it's public relations, but it can be intelligent relations. We got to use artificial intelligence in order to make it easy for brands, for any company to get media access and legitimize themselves. And again, we're not after the Fortune 100 companies that the media is looking for their quotes, and if they do a press release, the media is after them. We are after the huge number of medium enterprises that they are after the media. So our we have built public relations software as a service that allows those companies that they have a product and allows them to have direct access to the journalists and get media presence in an easy way and create a steady drumbeat of public relations activity that will get them press coverage.
Yeah, very interesting. So normally, when we talk about some of these AI-based solutions, it is for a particular segment of users. From what I understand, just let me know if my understanding is right, is that your platform is a two-sided platform. You have the journalists on one side and the brands on the other side. So when you have uh, both sides to be balanced, now how does AI-based approaches help you?
Again, we talk AI like it is panacea. It's the solution for everything. I see it AI as a combination of technologies. It's not just one thing. The easiest way to explain it is, you have an input, you give this input to now everybody's talking about AI agents, and probably 3 months later we'll be talking about something else. But you give an input, the AI agent creates an output, is talking to another agent, and that output is the input to the other agent, and all that. So that's what is the key and the importance thing here. And I just think it's the ability to look at the data, multiple sources of data, and you need to have the subject matter experts to put the correct prompts and do all these things. So when you give them the inputs, you get the outputs that you need, and will give you a result that a human can do. But there's no doubt that call it whatever you want, the AI assistant or the agent or whoever you're using, it's much smarter than a person. Obviously, it lacks all the other characteristics of human intelligence. But I think that again, I tend to look long term. I think 30 years from now, it will be the same way we use the internet or email or e-commerce. It will be a completely different way that we use AI, back then. I'm old enough to remember that we didn't have the iPhones we used to leave the office at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever. You used to go home. There was no email at home. Then we got the laptop or you got the PC and you have to dial up. And you got to dial up and then you put the kids to sleep at 8, 9 o'clock and then you got logged in and you saw your email, oh, someone sent me something and then, then you rush to. So it was a very different way of using, the internet, but everything evolved. Now we got Slack on the phones or the messaging applications. So everything it's different on the communication thing. So the same thing I think, and I don't know what, but is going to be a different way of interpreting the data and using AI that it will help everybody. And my comparison is with the invention of the printing press. When before the printing press, knowledge was very limited to the people who had access to manual scripts. It was a handwritten scripts, and you could read and learn because of those. Then you had the printing press. Everybody could read whatever it was, from the Bible to a novel to manuscripts of science. And I think I think this is going to be the same type of leapfrog, because you're going to have a way that everybody can not just ask the question and get the answer, but also keep digging and answering and looking at different things on the questions and find different answers. So it's a long answer, but it's a big topic.
Yeah, definitely. But the other thing that I'm always curious about is when you are talking about, say, any communication-based solutions. In this case, when you say PR, I mean, do your customers ask you for this dreaded ROI? If I
Yeah,
say this,
everybody wants, what's the ROI, so I get an article on New York Times, the CEO gonna say, great. I mean, okay, my wife is impressed, but how many, sales leads did I get?
Mhm.
Public relations, it's not like a paid advertisement where you can measure the clicks and the follow-throughs and all that. It is what we say, the brand awareness, and a way to have all those backlinks and SEO and domain authority. Those are the KPIs that the communications managers they have to measure. And again, being in front of different people, telling your story to the audience, it is important. The most important thing is you got to keep doing it. Even if you get a story, you may get a spike, but you need to keep going.
The other thing, particularly for this two-sided kind of a platform, is the acquisition of customers on both sides, whether it's the journalists on one side or the brands on the other. So how much of control do you have on what kind of stories come through to keep the journalists interested sufficiently?
Yeah, you don't have control. At the end of the day, the story is what matters, and AI and all that. It doesn't matter if you as a brand, as a product, as a company, if you don't have a good story to tell. That's what journalists want to write about. The journalists don't care about your promotional talk. They don't care, oh, I have a discount, or I created a new AI agent. Everybody does that. The journalists are not in the business telling your story. They're in the business telling the story. So what you got to do as a brand is you got to embed yourself into the news cycle, say to the journalists and to the public why your story, why your product is making waves, is making a difference. What are the data, again, that journalists cannot just Google if you have customer data or anything else, that you show where the direction is going. And also, the public and the journalists, they want some controversy. They want, to pick a fight, and they want people who will take a stand. If you believe for something, and I don't know, if you believe that AI is the end of the world and we shouldn't do it, that's what you should tell about. That's what you should talk about, and that's what will get you there. Pick a fight is not a bad thing, as long as you genuinely believe it and is rooted on your beliefs as a person and as a company. But that's what matters. It's the story. And again, the software and the AI can help you automatically contact and connect with the journalists and help you create relationships with the highly relevant timing on the news and personalization of what the journalists are writing. That's the technology part. But where you're going to sell them, that's up to you. Where you're going to pitch them, it's up to you.
So do you also guide your customers, the brands, on how to position or how to identify stories of interest?
Yes, of course. We have that ability, and again, we try to disrupt the model so customers can do it. They don't have to do a retainer with like a PR agency. They can do it ad hoc. We have customer success teams to help them depending on the subscriptions. They can go up and down. So we try to revolutionize the pricing model, and how using again the technology, the public relations services are offered, all the way from a press release to doing an interview or media training, or ghost writing. So all that is, we have completely new model delivering those to the subscribers, the end users, and again the great access to the journalists and access to public relations professionals.
So that is a good segue to ask you about career options in the public relations space, mainly for the technical professionals. If it's a person who is starting out a career, and the second segment are people who are not very happy with what they're doing, and if they would like to get into the public relations domain, what would be some of the advice that you would have for them?
Yeah, public relations, I mean, traditionally it has been the communication majors. Someone is doing a major in communications, and they're either going to marketing or advertising or public relations. Traditionally, the last 20, 30 years, you had those PR, public relations agencies, that they hire those professionals, those kids out of college, mostly on the communication side. The last 5, 10 years, we've seen a lot of need for engineers, all the way from database engineers, and again, trying to understand where to find the journalists and the publications and the podcasters and the influencers, YouTubers now. So you got all these different platforms. It used to be that you had like 3 major news networks and 20 newspapers. Now it's all over the place. So you need engineers to help you understand and reach out to all these people. So if your domain is communications, you need to understand the technology, and you need to again focus on the story. If your domain is engineering, data and database engineering is very important. If you are in the mid career and you are tired of working with clients and brands that all they want is something a result, and what's the ROI, and what have you done for me lately. Public relations tend to be a very thankless profession. You do all these things for the brands, and after 6 months, a year, they say, "What have you done for me yesterday?" Which is a lot of careers like that, but that's one like this. So again, you got to feel comfortable on the relationship with your customers, and that's why what we're building is very different, because the customer has a complete access to the platform, and the customer is engaged and owns those relationships.
So as we come towards the end of our conversation, I want to ask you one question. With so many different interests, and you mentioned that it could be a thankless job or always under pressure, do you have any personal practices that help you stay grounded?
It's it sounds like a cliche, but it's I have my two kids and my wife, but that's what it comes down to, and I think I have two young kids and a family and a wife. We wake up early. We try to work hard and try to convince people, try to solve problems, try to pull a rabbit out of the hat sometimes. But you got to know why you're doing all this.
Mm.
Is it an ego-driven thing? You want to be just successful, so your neighbor says, "Hey, this guy is driving a great car, and his kids are going to good schools and they're dressed nicely, and he has a nice watch."
Mm.
Is that it? Is that the motivation? Is that the motivation that you want to be on the cover of Wired magazine as an innovator and as a company? That's part of an ego too. What is your motivation? And I think that if you come into to peace with yourself, understanding why you're doing that. Are you trying to prove to your father that you're smart enough, and to your family that you can be, get a company public, or you're trying to solve a problem and do that? So we always talk about it, about the smile of the wife that sees you at the end of the day, and the hug of the kids. That's what it is. Again, we talk about it. I don't think how much we preach it, but to me, that's what matters, and that's what is trying to keep me grounded. There's very few things in life that matter. Very very few things, and it comes down to health and love. And again, you go back 5, 10 years, you won't remember a meeting with a prospect. You will not remember an investor who said no to you. Maybe you do, but does it matter? Very few things in life matter. So we got to look at it this way.
Yeah, wonderful. You make it sound very simple and practical.
No, about that.
Because ultimately, like you said, we all want to be happy. We want our families to be happy. Good. Wonderful. So thanks a lot, Stamatis, for coming on the show and sharing your perspectives. This has been very different in terms of coming from theater and then being able to use those skills of being able to pitch to people, communicate, being with people. Yeah, it's been wonderful. I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thank you.
Me too. Me too. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank Siddharth for the music and Anita for promoting the Software People stories.
If you like this episode,
Please subscribe on your favorite podcast client.
And spread the word in your network.
if you'd like to share your story,
Contact us at podcasts@pm-powerconsulting.com.